Good evening and welcome to Tok Piksa. Specialist heart doctors are concerned about the younger than normal age group of Papua New Guineans who are contracting coronary heart diseases. Traditionally associated with people beyond the age of 45, doctors are now seeing Papua New Guinean heart patients who are in their 30s.
Trend here we are seeing is a young age group, especially for coronary artery disease, which it's not very common in the Western world.
A decade and a decade half before what I have experienced and seen in other parts of the world. And secondly, like in cancer, the heart disease also same. The younger is the patient, more aggressive is the disease.
Coronary artery diseases are considered fairly new in the country since it was first recorded in the 1960s. It is one of the three broad categories of heart diseases that are found in PNG.
The congenital defects in the heart, wherever you go in the country, the frequency is pretty much the same. If you come into the cities, that frequency is pretty much the same, but it's now been overtaken by the lifestyle, the coronary artery disease and all of that. The infection-related heart diseases, called rheumatic heart disease, they are more prominent in the rural parts of the country.
Professor Se Isikeva was the first cardiologist from Papua New Guinea. He heads internal medicine at the School of Medicine at the University of PNG and is the honorary director of the Seburi Kidu Heart Institute. He explains the trend in heart conditions by the number of years he has been practicing and treating the conditions in the country.
Now, 1985 and 88, in a period of 3 or 4 years, we admitted 20 patients with heart attack. And I guess that was the beginning of more to come. Of course, these days we are admitting patients with a heart attack every day.
While congenital heart conditions, which are heart defects that a person is born with, and rheumatic heart diseases are beyond a person's control, coronary artery diseases are mainly found in urban settings and are caused by the choices a person makes as part of their lifestyle.
The change in lifestyle, which means that we live in the cities, we don't do the gardening, the walking, the fishing that we used to do. We put a lot of weight, and we eat the foods that contain a lot of fatty stuff or high cholesterol food stuff. Okay. Tobacco smoking is the major factor that's been responsible for the development of heart disease and for stroke and for cancers and all of those are. So.
The artery supplies the blood to the heart.
Dr. O.P. Sharma, Chief Cardiothoracic and Vascular Surgeon at the Pacific International Hospital, says in the short while he has been in the country, the age group of patients he has seen so far has been worrying.
With urbanization comes the stress, and stress is a major factor which is causing high blood pressure, and high blood pressure in turn causes high coronary artery disease or heart disease. Normally, whenever you have chest pain or shortness of breath or fatigue or tightness in the jaw or compression in the chest or choking sensation or pain radiating to jaw, and of both the jaws you feel there is tightness, you should not take it lightly.
Compared to the rest of the world, the Pacific region has a relatively high number of non-communicable diseases, which coronary artery diseases are a part of.
So there's evidence now here and in the entire world, in the entire Pacific, lifestyle disease or non-communicable diseases are on the rise, and it'll continue to go in the next 30, 40, 50 years. It's scary.
37-year-old Clive Polle recently underwent open-heart bypass surgery. He thought something was wrong with his lungs when he started experiencing shortness of breath, had difficulty walking for short distances, and was unable to lift heavy objects. Checks at Port Moresby General Hospital showed that his lungs were clear. Then on June 6 this year, he had a heart attack.
And now all doctors all at least check out Amana now, all specialist stuff. all find out was a mega dyslastic. From there now, writing report, now referring me either surgery, law, PNG, or overseas. Now me been choosing to come with EH.
You're watching Tok Piksa. Treatment of heart conditions require specialist care, and this is something that is hard to come by in the country. With a fast-growing population, there is already a lot of strain on the country's health sector, and competing government priorities mean training and adequate resources required for specialist heart care and treatment is either lacking or expensive.
Treatment of heart conditions in PNG can be seen in two distinct groups, through the public hospitals and through the private hospitals. For Mr. Pole, the treatment he could receive from the public hospital extended to non-surgical diagnosis and treatment. For surgery, Mr. Pole will have to wait for Operation Open Heart, a largely charity event that the public system depends on to provide adequate resources and manpower to conduct heart surgeries. Before the surgeries take place, a screening is done on patients throughout the country.
We do the screening and we cut it down to about 600 patients. We do another screening to cut it down to 60 patients. And out of the 60 patients, we choose the suitable ones for operations. We have a criteria of selecting patients whom we can operate for a short period of time, and their recovery is quicker within that time.
Because Mr. Pole needed surgery as soon as possible, he had a choice to make: go overseas for surgery or go to the Pacific International Hospital.
Obvious reason it wasn't expenses, but big reason it wasn't. Most important one was family to establish and another something. Suppose anything after the development, after surgery, we find him some difficulty. Bahar me come back na, and another expenses na long way up to months. So, lawyer me, south and doctor establish, surgeon establish, so begin come see na. Catch up on the mem na kind of same, so big reason me start back na.
PIH, a private hospital based in Port Moresby, is the only hospital in the country which has a cath lab and an operating theatre dedicated to open heart surgery. Since its launching earlier this year, they have seen 88 patients and have done 8 surgeries. Dr. Sharma is the man that performs those surgeries and performed an open heart bypass surgery on Mr. Pole.
In two ways. Conventional way is to stop the heart, arrest the heart and do the bypass grafting on the arrested heart, or second is on beating heart, where the thrill is. You do it when the heart is beating, it's like hitting a moving target, but very few centers are doing, not even in Australia people are doing it, because it needs specialized training and specialized technique. It is there and you have to be moving very, very fast. I show the another way.
Because of their fully equipped facilities at PIH, they can also perform invasive diagnosis, an angiogram which can pinpoint blockages in the arteries and the extent of blockages.
And we do it from the radial artery. This is the hand artery. We just put a local anesthesia, give a local anesthesia there, and everything is numb on that particular part. You are conscious throughout the procedure. It is done within 5 to 10 minutes, very quick. And you put puncture the artery with a needle, put in a wire and guide a catheter over the wire which goes right up to the aorta, which is the main artery arising from the heart, and we inject dye. And then you see on the big TV screen where the dye is going, in which artery it is going. It should go in both the arteries fluently without any blockage, without any hampering of the blood flow. In that you can pick up how many arteries are blocked, what are the percentage of the block, and what is the extent of the blockages.
Mr. Pole was able to get an angiogram which confirmed 100% blockage of one of his arteries where he received a bypass.
Yeah, around 70,000 kina.
Mr. Pole paid 10,000 kina for the angiogram and 60,000 kina for surgery. He is part of a small number of Papua New Guineans who are able to afford this surgery. He is employed as a standards and licensing officer with PNG Ports Corporation, who paid for his medical bills.
Either you may die or you may get money, you will be alive. Or some people work local company or some good company, the company sponsors. But suppose you come up, normal man marry, you will die.
Dr. Noah Tapawa is now the only Papua New Guinean cardiothoracic surgeon at the Port Moresby General Hospital, PNG's largest referral hospital, and the only public hospital where heart surgery is performed in the country. He says the number of heart patients is overwhelming. With the limited resources and manpower they have, for now they can only perform 5 surgeries in a year, but the current requirement of patients need them to perform 150 surgeries per month.
Our government has a lot of priorities, but I believe that this is one of the priorities that government should include it in the budget, because that will cater for everything. And
Dr. Tapawa says over the years they have been able to build a core team of cardiac specialists in the various fields, but much more is needed. Training of specialists in any medical field is a very expensive exercise. Also, the resources that are needed to perform surgery and for patients' use are very expensive.
Many of the consumables are very expensive, and there's no doubt that's what makes cardiac surgery very expensive.
Operation Open Heart is an annual event that began in 1993. During the surgeries that are performed, there is the opportunity to pass on skill sets to Papua New Guineans. For the first time this year, a surgery was performed by a full Papua New Guinean team. Also under this training, there is the opportunity for Papua New Guineans to gain specialist skills overseas. The Port Moresby General Hospital receives 100,000 kina every year from the government to assist with these operations. The cardiac team at Port Moresby General Hospital used this funding to visit different provinces to screen patients for the Operation Open Heart. For patients who would need valve replacements or pacemakers, that cost falls onto the patients and their families.
Unfortunately, we don't have this at our disposal. Because of the limited finance and the money that we have, so we have to ask the patient or the relative to raise some funds, and we get it and implant it.
Dr. Tapawa says at least 500,000 kina is needed annually to make Operation Open Heart a core program that cardiac surgery can lean on throughout the year.
The government needs to do this program was publicly announced by our current Prime Minister as a national program. I think it should be included in the recurrent budget, the national recurrent budget, and it should be fully funded. Because I believe that any specialist treatment, our Papua New Guinea or any people, you have the right. You have the right to, and you deserve that type of treatment within the country.
You're with Tok Piksa. The continued treatment of heart conditions and diseases is an expensive exercise, not only on the national budget and particularly more so on individuals and their families. While some of these conditions cannot be avoided, others are largely dependent on making good life choices.
The internet is full of advice on how to prevent heart diseases, something that is accessible to the Papua New Guineans who are most at risk of these diseases. In America, where heart disease is said to be the #1 killer, the American Heart Association says prevention of heart diseases is as easy as A, avoid tobacco, B, be active, and C, choose good nutrition.
The best example I can see is that I can give is that our great-grandfathers lived for a long time because they ate vegetables, they ate all the right food, and they did a lot of exercise. So I think if you look at that model, the advice is to try and eat more natural food stuff than those that come in the shops that have a whole variety of additives in it, and particularly those.
Food that are good for a healthy heart can be found all over the country and can be easily included in a healthy diet. They include mackerel, avocado, beans, peas, potatoes, broccoli, peanuts, tomatoes, and a range of citrus fruits.
Heart healthy diet is which is rich in fiber, lot of fruits, lot of vegetables, no red meat, no pork.
Professor Sir Isikevau says an age-old saying is very important in this instance.
Children have to be educated about all of this. Children have to do a lot more exercise, because as the children become more educated and as the children become more sophisticated, they may be watching, television a lot more than they should, and they should. The old days where we used to go to school and we used to run around, and there's a little sport at lunchtime or tea time called Peggy Peggy. Peggy Peggy has to come back. I'd like to recommend Peggy Peggy to all the schools. The kids will run around and they sweat. At the end of the time, they're exhausted. But you know what's happened. The blood vessels are clean, and they've used them during the whole day, and there is no chance for cholesterol to block them. So, and we got to tell the children not to smoke. Children need to be educated, and so one way is to try and incorporate some of these ideas into the education curriculum, primary school, high school curriculum, so that children learn all about it. Now prevention is better than cure. That old adage is very, very important here in Papua New Guinea.
For Mr. Pole, post-operation means a lot of discipline for him, and he recommends that Papua New Guineans should get into the habit of getting regular heart checks.
Just do a normal clinic heart check. So from there we can check in whether you got this like and see kind of. But suppose you run you go on. Once this happens, I'm happening now. Me hardly even but treat him. There's no medicine. The only thing is to surgery. Surgery is expensive.
An active lifestyle and eating healthy not only prevents heart diseases, it is also better for the budget.
Once you get into lifestyle diseases, then you are talking big, big money. All the medications that you are going to buy as a result of this disease for the long term is going to take a lot of your kina. So it's a very expensive disease we're going to. And that's why it is very important that we talk about preventative measures, lifestyle changes.
We hope our story tonight has given you something to think about. And hopefully you'll be able to make better life choices after viewing it. If you missed any part of the show, you can catch the replay on Wednesday evening. And until we do this again next Sunday, I'm Neville Choi. Good night.